Hi there, I'm Sasha from Questmate, and today I want to talk about Questscript. So Questscript allows you to add custom functionality to Questmate, like pretty much everything that you want to do and that the product can't do natively yet, you will be able to do with Questscript. And for this demo, I'm actually going completely off script, no pun intended. But yeah, like let's jump right in, and I want to show you like what you can do with Questscript. To set a little bit of context for this demo, so what we're going to do is we are going to build a visitor registration process. Okay, cool. So what do we need? First of all, we need a new quest, right? So let's jump right in. And let's say start fresh. And then we're going to say visitor or visitors. Let's start creating this quest. And now we can say, let's say, welcome to Pengu HQ. And the first thing that we want to ask people is their name. And obviously that shouldn't be a checkable, which is like the default whenever you create like a new item in Questmate, but instead we want it to be a short answer. Cool, so already we can record the person's name who's visiting. And the other thing that we want to ask them is who they're going to see. So this is going to be a little bit more complicated, right? Obviously, we could do like just a multi-select or multi-choice item and add the different options of the different people that they might want to see. But that's actually not the best thing that we could do here. The best thing that we could do here is actually showing all the people that are on our Slack. So everyone who's on our team. So we don't need to maintain like a separate list. And also, there's another thing that we can do if we actually do this. But let's start with that. Let's just say, who are you seeing today? And then instead of making this option with like different names here, we will just say custom. And what custom allows us to do is to drop in like a little quest script, which renders a custom component, which can be backed by any data source. So this can be data coming from an Airtable, or in our case, Slack. So let's click on this, and this is how it looks right now. Let's make this maybe a little bit bigger. And this is where we can actually paste or write our code. I will just grab something from the help center that we're also currently working on and going to release soon. And then we just say automation and customization. And then we have Questscript here. And then that's something that we want in a moment, the completion action, but we start with the custom item. So let's dive in here, and then let's go to the Slack dropdown. So what this component basically does, or this script is, it renders a component like a dropdown where the data is actually coming from the Slack API. And you also will notice that I don't need to do any authentication here because I already have my Slack account linked to my Questmate account, and we can basically use that to our advantage. So we in the background, we will actually pre-authenticate the request that you are going to do to, like, for instance, the Slack API. So let's just go here and copy this and put it here. And maybe let's make this a little bit wider again. Okay, that's the furthest that we can go. So it's a little bit cramped, but you will get the idea in a moment. So we have our custom component that we define here. And then what we can do is we can actually render two different views for the person who's actually setting up the quest. So that means when we add the custom component to one of our templates, we can basically just say like, hey, these are the options that we want to show to the person setting up their quest. But in this case, we don't really need a setup, because all that we're going to do is we're going to list all the users on the Slack from the account that is already linked. So, and that's why we only have like the render fill out view and not the render config view. So all that we do is we go to the Slack API, we get the list of users, and then we use these users and show them in a custom dropdown component. So this is basically what the script returns. It's returning components array, and the only component that we have in it is a dropdown. We give it a key so that we can access the data. And yeah, we just like do a little bit of filtering. So we don't want to show bots. We don't want to show like the Slack bot, which funny enough is not a bot, at least when you ask Slack. I don't know why. And then we also don't want to show any deleted members. Cool, all right. And then, yeah, we just map the data a little bit. So the label is pretty much the name that we're going to show in the dropdown, and the ID is the Slack member ID. So if we click here, you can already see it's already working. So it's listing all the users that we have on our Slack. Cool. And this, by the way, is just a preview, right? So that you can test your component. And then we do like a little bit of sorting. And we can also set like a noun and the plural version of the noun, so that we can say like select member, or like whatever the field should actually show. Yeah, and sorry for things being like a little bit cramped, but like I think you get the idea of it. Also notice this one, like if you want to access the Slack API and want to use your token from the user that is linked to your Questmate account. Okay, cool. So with this already working, we can actually save this. And now we have like the two main questions that we need for this quest. Obviously, we could also ask people for their email address and some other information that we might want to collect. But for the purpose of this demo, let's just leave it at this. Cool, awesome. All right, then maybe we just add one more thing. So as a completion action, we say, we let them know you are here. Cool. So we have a welcome, we asked them for their name, and we asked them to select who they're seeing, right? So the host. And when they finish the quest, we let them know that we notified the host and that they're going to pick them up. Cool. But there's one thing missing here, right? We need another completion action. So we actually need to ping them, which we are not doing right now. Right now, we only have a component which allows them to select who they're seeing, but we're not actually pinging them yet. So let's press on plus in the completion actions and say run Questscript, which is also using a script. So one was actually returning a component that we needed. And now we need to run the script that actually pings the host and lets them know that there's somebody here to see them. Cool. So this is empty again. This doesn't render like any components, at least not yet. So what we can do is we can write a little script, and I will also just see if we can find an example here. So let's go to the Slack message example and copy this example, and I will tell you what it does. So what we want to do is we want to notify the host, right? So we do two things. So first of all, we get the visitor name. So the visitor name that has been entered by the visitor. And then we also want to know who did they select as the person that they see them. The way we do it is we use this selector. So we can either select by name. So this is pretty much the title that I gave the item. And we can also make sure that they actually overlap. So it's your full name and who are you seeing today. And maybe let's copy this and go back and let's make sure this is exactly saying this. Yeah, it does. And then this one was your full name with a capital F and N. Cool. Let's have another look. Your full name, that looks good. So we will get the visitor name and the host, and that selected host that we want to ping on Slack. And the next thing that we actually do is we update the quest. So we use the name and say like, hey, for the entry, for the visitor entry in Questmate, we rename the quest run to the person who actually came in to see us today. So this is updating the name of the quest run. And then what we do is pretty simple. We send a message on Slack and we send it to the member that has been selected from the dropdown that we just configured, the custom component earlier. And then we send them a message and we tell them the name of the visitor and that they are here to see them. And that's pretty much it. And at the end, for this particular use case, because again, it's for the visitor registration, we want basically when somebody finishes the registration, we want to wait some time and then we want to start the quest again, right? So that the next visitor can actually register themselves. And what we can do here is Questscripts can actually return actions. And one of the first actions that we will actually have is a navigate action. And what that basically does is you can give it a countdown, which is 5 seconds in this case, And then you can give a text for the button, which will also like just go to the URL. In this case, it actually goes back to the beginning of the quest, right, with an empty instance. And then you can give that like a label so people can press that, but it also has a countdown. That means if they don't press it, then it just counts down and then it redirects. So basically what we're doing here is we say we want to navigate after the quest has been finished, wait 5 seconds until we do, unless they press the button which says register another visitor. And then we say we want to navigate to this particular screen with this particular parameters. And in this case, it's the public ID of that quest. So we will actually make that quest public so that whoever is using this on an iPad or like on whatever device, they wouldn't be able to access like anything else in the system, right? Because like you wouldn't need to log in into Questmate actually. You can just use the URL and then provide the login experience to your users. So yeah, this looks pretty much good to go. So the only thing that's left to do here is try it out. So we save the template, we go to options, and then we say unique quest per assignee, right? Because we want like one quest run basically created for everyone who's signing in. And then we want to say we want to have a public URL. And obviously we could also like print this as a QR code and allow even people to use their own device to check in, or like use the iPad at the front desk to scan the QR code, which then automatically opens it in the Questman app. And yeah, hopefully delivers exactly the experience that we were longing for. Cool. All right, so let's give this a go. Alrighty. There we go. There's actually one thing that I left out here, and we can actually correct it because we also worked on another new feature. So if we go here and we scroll down and actually say we want the slide mode, and then we use this URL, and now we get a nice slide-based flow. So basically a step-by-step flow instead of like the full-blown list with all the questions. And then people can just navigate from here by either pressing the button, or they can swipe to the right. So let's just impersonate Jack, our lead engineer here, and say like, hey, we are Jack Coy. And we say, hey, Sasha, I'm going to see you. And that's pretty much it. So let's press this button and say we're done. We let them know you're here. And now we see this button that has been returned from the Questscript, which is register another visitor. And as I said, this will just bring us back to the beginning of the screen, right? So the next visitor can check in. Cool. Should we head over to Slack? And there we go. Our message, Jack Coy is here to see you. And we can also now see that Jack signed in as a visitor. So the renaming of the quest run also automatically worked. And that concludes the demo. So yeah, we're going to share all the things that are possible with this, right? From like all the different custom components that you can build with the different data sources, Google Sheets, Microsoft Teams, Slack, it just doesn't matter. And then also like all the custom logic that you can add to the end of a quest and also soon at the beginning of the quest. So you can rename them, you can set like due dates on the sub quest, on the parent quest. Like you can basically do all the things just by the power of Questscript. And that's the whole idea about it, being like this ultimate escape hatch, right? For all the things that we don't support yet. So we can try them together and then eventually make them native features in Questmate as well. Alrighty, then thank you so much for your attention and see you soon. Bye.